of this nation took it upon themselves to build a nation whose people are free, both in thought and understanding. And I am confident that the concurrence of the launch of AABNet and the day Kenya attained self-rule is no coincidence, but it is a sign of the instrumental role freedom of mind and thought has in the attainment of our prospects as a network. Rosa Luxemburg, I like quoting this, one time said that those who do not move, if you don't move, then you do not notice their chains. Those who do not move do not notice their chains. So I'm really happy that we've now moved and we've noticed the chains. And in this particular meeting, we are all aware that we are endowed with a very resourceful pool of researchers who have published widely. They've authored and co-authored publications that are pertinent in assisting in decision-making on matters livestock production in Africa. And this means that we are best positioned, and I believe, to better our livestock production systems because we are really armed with the information that is sufficient for the task at hand. And this network shall provide a blueprint through which we shall eliminate the limitations that have, for a long time, hampered efforts towards the viability, efforts towards the sustainability of livestock breeding systems in Africa. And I therefore commend the efforts that have been concerted towards building this network and believe that through the fulfillment of our mandate, we shall be able to understand how best to improve livestock systems in Africa. And since its inception, AABNet has gained significant mileage towards the goals we set out to achieve. And as the speakers after me will attest, this network has brought together leading experts in industry, leading experts in academia, in government, in international research organizations to leverage opportunities aimed towards supporting livestock genetic improvement in Africa. So as I sum up my opening remarks, I once again officially welcome you to the launch of AABNet. And I believe that from the proceeds of this network, we shall not only tap onto our freedom of thought, our freedom of understanding, but also develop and derive initiatives focusing on the development, initiatives focusing on the application of tools, resources, and other innovations in genetics, genomics, animal breeding, data science to support livestock improvement programs in Africa. So thank you for listening to me. And at this particular point, I will invite the moderator of the remaining session, and that is Professor Ed Reggae, to proceed from here. Prof. Ed.
Thank you so much, Alex. I would like to thank you and thank Egerton University for being the host of this network, AABNet, and to thank you and your colleagues for the work that you have done so far, as will be evident as we move forward. I would like to, my name is Ed Reggae, and as Alex may have inferred, I'm actually part-time visiting professor at Egerton University in animal genetics and livestock innovations. I'm also CEO of an institution called Emerge Center for Innovations Africa, based in Nairobi, but working across the continent. I'm so pleased to be associated with this initiative, AABNet, and you'll be hearing a little bit more about AABNet momentarily. For now, I just want to walk you through the agenda, take 1 or 2 minutes. So we have a stellar cast of of speakers, and we really would like to thank the speakers here. We will be doing very, very brief introductions, but let me just mention whom we are expecting to be on this call and to make some statements. Dr. Jimmy Smith, Director General, the International Livestock Research Institute. High Excellency Josefa Leonel Correa Sacco, the African Union Commissioner for Rural Economy and Agriculture. Mr. Kabore Yusuf, Chief Livestock Officer, Agribusiness Development, African Development Bank. Dr. Yapi van der Westhuizen, South African Stud Book and Animal Improvement Association, but also member of ICAR. Dr. Elena Rice, Chief Scientific Officer, Genus PLC. Mr. Richard Keeley, Group Managing Director, Africa Poultry Development Limited. We are also expecting Dr. Haile Gabriel Abebe, Assistant Director General, and the regional representative for Africa for the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, and Her Excellency, Dr. Geraldine Mukeshimana, Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources, Republic of Rwanda. We have indication that Her Excellency, the Commissioner, African Union Commissioner for Rural Economy and Agriculture, Madam Josefa, will not be in attendance, but will be ably represented by her special advisor, Professor Jerome Afeikena. And we would like to welcome everybody who is already in the room and those who will be coming shortly. Also on the speaking list are members of AABNet, whom I will be introducing, or will introduce themselves as they come on board. At this particular point, I would like to just very quickly mention that the sequence is as follows. We will have 6 keynote remarks, and I will be announcing the sequence of those. This will be followed by a panel. This panel is composed of AABNet members who are responsible for looking at different pillars of the network, and we will be asking them to kind of zoom in to what exactly the network is desiring to do around those key pillars, which define the key issues of animal genetic resources and animal genetic improvement in Africa. We will then go to the final part where we will invite two launch speeches, one by Haile Gabriel Abebe of FAO, and the actual launch speak will be presented by Her Excellency Dr. Geraldine Mukeshimana, Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources, Republic of Rwanda. So in a nutshell, that is the program as we have it. We are anticipating to have just slightly over 1.5 hours of this program. I would like to check if Mizek, our colleague Mizek Chagunda is in the room right now. Can somebody confirm? Mizek, are you in the room? Okay. Apollonia, can you assist to confirm that, please?
I'm checking it, just give me one moment.
Okay. So Mizek was supposed to give an overview of AABNet before we get into invited speeches. And so we just need to check if he's having connectivity issues. Mizek should be actually linking in from Germany, I think, unless he has traveled. He should be linking in from Germany. Okay, as we wait, let me just take a minute to share with you a few facts and figures about AABNet. So I think almost everybody on this call will know that animal breeding is probably the orphan of the livestock disciplines, probably globally, but definitely in Africa, in terms of the size of the availability of expertise in the area, the interest it draws in terms of investments by our institutions, including the public sector, and the growth more generally. As a result, when you go to institutions in Africa and you are looking at the disciplines that define livestock, you will find the smallest entity in that subset, in that set, will be animal breeding. In some countries and institutions, you don't even have an animal breeder. Animal breeding has also been affected significantly by the graying situation that we have, where those animal breeders who are trained in the past have not been replaced in the recent past, as a result of which some institutions that had a few now have literally none. So I think it's a fact that I think everybody on this call is aware of. Animal breeding, African Animal Breeding Network was formed in 2019, and this is its launch. In the meantime, it has been doing a few things. It is behind it are African individuals that are either based in Africa or based outside of Africa, and some of them will be speaking today. As a matter of fact, a significant number of African animal breeders are currently based outside of the continent. Not to say that they are the majority, but a number of us are actually outside of the continent. AABNet was created to look at 4 particular areas that we identified as really requiring attention. One is the whole area of genetic evaluations and the possibility to actually put in place an infrastructure that can help evaluation of livestock across countries. And you will be hearing a little bit about that later on. The other is the whole issue of capacity, professional development that is linked to identifying and developing talent, as well as incubation of technologies around animal breeding and genetics more broadly. Number 3 is advocacy and awareness, including business development, looking at how to mainstream animal breeding and to mobilize the creation of an enabling environment for animal breeding to actually be an important contributor to livestock improvement in the continent. So this includes the issue I raised earlier about investments. And the 4th pillar is looking at collaboration, networking, and partnerships, both within Africa and across and outside of Africa. So in a nutshell, that is AABNet and the 4 pillars that constitute it. If Mizek is here, maybe he can finalize this by adding a couple of slides. Mizek, are you here now?
He's connecting just in a short moment, Ed. Thank you.
Okay. So as soon as we have heard of Mizek's comments, hopefully it will be short because of the time now. We will be inviting Jimmy Smith to make his keynote remarks. So I note that someone is asking where is the French translation? I'm sorry to disappoint our colleagues who are expecting simultaneous interpretation. Sorry about that. We did not make provision for interpretation into French, Portuguese, and other languages spoken on the continent. Our very sincere apologies to colleagues. I think because of the kind of time situation we have, I think I would like to invite Jimmy to make his five-minute remarks, keynote remarks. Jimmy, over to you.
Thank you, Ed. Distinguished colleagues and friends, to the Kenyans, happy Madaraka Day. I'm very pleased to have the privilege of participating in the launch of the African Animal Breeders Network today. I have noted with much interest the goal that has been set for this network to drive the dissemination of improved livestock genetics and to contribute to broader genetic improvement on the continent. I know too the pillars that Ed have just elaborated for the network, and I'm pleased to note that my own institution, ILRI, will be participating in at least two of these. I know too the outstanding set of partners in this network, which I'm sure will leverage many others over time, including many of the NARs of Africa. This network is being launched at a crucial time for animal agriculture the world over, but particularly so for Africa, because of the crucial role that livestock play on the continent. Perhaps this network could even provide the leverage the sector needs to assert its rightful place in Africa's development. Let me explain what I mean. In the face of the urgent climate debate, livestock and the people who depend on them are taking a hit. Some critics of the sector even argue that to save the planet, we must get rid of the livestock. Yet here in Africa, the livestock sector contributes about 40% of agriculture GDP and growing, provides directly or indirectly to the means of livelihood of most of the population, makes usable most of the land or more than half of the land that would otherwise wouldn't be used. The bottom line is that demand for animal source food is rapidly growing, driven by population growth, urbanization, and mostly by increasing income. As the per capita consumption is still very low, this trend will continue well into the foreseeable future. Consequently, the pressure on the sector as it relates to the environmental sustainability will continue. I perceive an opportunity for this network that is much wider than its goal, but can be accrued as co-benefits of its work. I see an opportunity to address the goal and also to respond to the environmental challenges I've just noted. Here is how. If this network were able to contribute to rapidly increasing the productivity of livestock on the continent, it would help make at least three things happen. By increasing productivity, the emission intensity of animal products would be reduced, particularly milk and ruminant meats. Emission intensity, a critical indicator of environmental sustainability, is calculated as greenhouse gas emission emitted per unit of product. Emission intensity is highest in Africa for all animal products. The second thing that this network can make happen as a co-benefit of its work is increasing livestock productivity will also make more animal source foods available to meet the rapidly growing demand that I refer to, and could do so without increasing the inventory of livestock. If productivity does not rise to meet the demand, the livestock numbers will increase. This will not necessarily be a good thing for the continent. The third thing that as a co-benefit this network can do is increasing productivity will also increase the competitiveness of smallholders. who dominate the livestock sector in Africa and many parts of the world. Animal agriculture is an important means of eradicating poverty, but a prerequisite for doing so is increasing the productivity and in turn, the competitiveness of smallholder enterprise. I believe that we have the requisite quantitative and qualitative, molecular and information technology tools to do this. I have seen the ILRI team and partners employ these tools with great benefit in the African Chicken Gains and Dairy Gains programs. Of course, increasing productivity will not happen through genetic improvements alone, but improving feeding, health, and management also. This network could challenge other partners in animal agriculture to respond accordingly. Although responding to the climate issue, the effect of livestock and climate is compelling, it is not the only challenge I think this network can respond to. There is also the matter of the effects of changing climate on livestock. Both heat stress and disease are already binding constraints to high-producing livestock. Hotter climates, which are predicted in many parts of Africa, will likely exacerbate these challenges. My view is that we must address these as well. While I have emphasized the opportunities that technology present to this network, the real potential of this network will depend on the human capital it helps create that Ed just referred to as being very deficient. This is why I was particularly pleased to see professional development as one of its pillars. 10 or 20 years from now, when we look back, this network will be judged not just on what it did itself, but what it was able to get done. Thus, the human capital it helps develop in institutions on the continent and the partnership it forges with these institutions will be key indicators of success. Ladies and gentlemen, I see the potential that this network could become an important locomotive of transformation of the livestock sector that would benefit the million of livestock keepers, but also the economies of the continent as a whole, both as direct benefits and co-benefits that I've alluded to. I'm therefore pleased to be part of this launch, and I wish you every success. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jimmy. Very, very relevant, direct, and also, I would say the connection that you refer to with ILRI is really, really going to be critical. And we are looking forward to working with ILRI as we take the baby on the steps ahead. Thank you so much for being with us, and please stay on. Our next 5-minute keynote remarks come from Her Excellency Josefa Leone Correa Sacco, AU Commissioner for Rural Economy and Agriculture. She's represented here by her special advisor, Professor Jerome Afeikena. So if Jerome is in the room, please, your 5 minutes keynote remarks, please.
Thank you, moderator. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are linked from. Felicitations from Ambassador Josefa Sacco, who very much wanted to be part of this event, but for other exigencies of office. But in view of the importance she attributes to this very group, she requested me to please read her remarks. I will proceed to do so. Dr. Abebe Hele Gabriel, ADG FAO, Her Excellency the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Republic of Rwanda, esteemed members of the African Animal Breeding Network, AABNet, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocols duly observed. Let me begin by thanking members of the Interim Task Force of the African Animal Breeding Network for the invitation to present the keynote remarks at this important online event. The livestock sector and its role in advancing Africa's agri transformation is well documented. Africa is a livestock-rich continent, having about 1/3 of the world's livestock population. As we heard from Jimmy, the livestock sector accounts for about 40% of agricultural GDP in Africa, ranging from 30 to 80% in individual countries, but really gets more than 5 to 10% of agricultural investment. Despite its significant contribution to agricultural and national gross domestic product, as well as ameliorating poverty, the livestock sector in most African countries remains heavily underfunded, neglected, especially by government, and underperforming. At the same time, livestock production systems are confronted with several challenges, the latest being climate change, which is aggravating the constraints in the sector. The consequences are a higher prevalence of disease and parasites, more and longer droughts, and the growing incidence of farmers' headers crisis, as we begin to witness in several parts of Africa. To date, the majority of African livestock systems have not benefited from livestock technologies to the extent that developed countries have done, especially in relation to genetic improvement strategies. Currently, there are few examples of sustainable breeding programs. Due to limited financial and human resources, the genetic potential of livestock in Africa has been largely unexploited, as there are usually no longer-term breeding strategies in place, no adequate policies, infrastructure, livestock recording schemes, or trained staff needed to support them, Establishment of functional breeding programs under smallholder conditions remains a challenge. The situation is compounded by the need for a breeding strategy in Africa to have multiple objectives, not only improving productivity, but also adapting to climate change and to a wide diversity of feeding resources and more generally of environmental, economic, and social conditions. I'm happy to note, therefore, that the Africa Animal Breeding Network is being established to address many of these challenges to animal breeding and genetic improvement, with a view to advancing agricultural transformation on the continent. While I congratulate the founding members of this network, I will be failing my duty if I do not encourage them to engage beyond universities and research organizations, the farmers' associations, and the private sector, who are the key actors to deliver resilient livestock systems. In a nutshell, we want a very inclusive society, because so far, I think only professors have been speaking. To conclude, the African Union Commission, through my department, is currently coordinating the implementation of the African Seed and Biotechnology Program and has established 5 regional animal genetic banks across Africa, as some of you may know. I look forward establishing strong partnership and collaboration between DABE, which is the name of the department here, and AABNet, to advance the implementation of this African Seed and Biotechnology Program and the full operationalization of the regional genetic banks. You will agree with me that animal seed has been absent during the discussions on strengthening seed systems in Africa. Through the proposed partnership and collaboration, I hope to bring animal breeding top on the policy agenda on the continent. I wish you successful deliberations and I thank you for your attention. Over to you, Coordinator.
Thank you so much. Thank you, much appreciated. And please pass our thanks, well, thanks to you for sure, but please pass our thanks also to Her Excellency, the Commissioner. We appreciate those statements, and we look forward to working with the African Union Commission and members. You may or may not know that we have actually been, we have joined the African Union Commission in the discussion on extending the seed discussion beyond crops to livestock. And we are one of, AABNet is leading one of the working groups on livestock seed. So thank you so much for those challenges. We really appreciate. It is now my pleasure to invite Mr. Kabore Yusuf, Chief Livestock Officer, Agribusiness Development, the African Development Bank. Mr. Kabare, please. I take it that no response for 30 seconds means he may not be here. If he's here, we will come back to him. But in the interest of time, I would probably proceed to the next speaker, just to stay on time. So without further delay, I would like to now invite our friend, colleague, and clearly an important member of the global community on animal breeding and genetics, Dr. Yapi, South African Stud Book and Animal Improvement Association, also member of ICA. Yapi, please feel most welcome and share your thoughts, your keynote remarks.
Thank you, Ed, for the opportunity. I'm trying to share my screen. Hopefully that will work.
We can see it, yes, it is up here. Yeah.
Okay, but I don't know whether, let me just quickly, if you don't mind, it will just take a second, just start the actual slideshow and then try again.
Okay.
There you are. I think it's hopefully up. Ed, I don't know if you can just give me a thumbs up. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. I think, you know, it's all about a brief, I guess, you know, what I should say or not say, but this is really a very good day for us all. I think to also be able to be part of this group. And I was very excited when I first became involved with this group, you know, through the ICAR channels and the recent ICAR conference that we had. So I will maybe just take it a little bit to the other side and talk a little bit about what Statboek does, which is obviously non-governmental and non-academic. And, you know, in terms of the remarks that was made, and obviously this is not an advert. I think this is an opportunity to say, how can we share resources and how can we take hands in assisting the building of resources wider, and also based on the pillars that was mentioned in that. So just as an introduction, yeah, and maybe this is now maybe a very specific South African situation. In South Africa, animal breeding and genetics, in terms of the practicality of that, is being governed by legislation, the so-called Animal Improvement Act, where breeds are declared, and or special breeds would be the indigenous breeds, and also those that were locally developed over time, which some like the Bonsmara also would be then specifically mentioned in our Animal Improvement Act as so-called land races. And then further governance would be how breeder societies or associations, as they call elsewhere in the world, are to be governed, and so-called registering authorities. So typically what will happen is that the breeder society will set their own breed standards and how selection should take place for those animals. and then registering authorities would be governed in terms of compliance with the national database and also international standards. And that's where a body like ICAR, the International Committee for Animal Recording, plays a pivotal role in terms of being able to set yourself or to help benchmark yourself in terms of international accreditation. I think the FAO also plays a pivotal role in that regards as well. So just a little bit of background as to what the situation is with the SA Statboek. We were established in 1905, and there's just over 60 breeder societies or associations that are the members of Statboek. So typically this is call it a federal situation where each of the breed societies act on their own, and they govern themselves, but they have a common goal, and that is usually around a common database and also genetic evaluation of animals. So up to now we have about 5,000 such breeders, not just in South Africa, but also in a few other African countries such as Namibia, Zambia, Botswana, mostly in Southern Africa. And this is then also in terms of the facilities and the products, it's all about recording, obviously, genetic evaluation and optimal matings, which I think is basically the pillars of animal improvement or livestock improvement. Just some resources. I'm not going to go through this. I think what's more important is that and I think for any institution like this, is to have the linkages with the academic institutions, also have international collaboration and linkages such as Interpol. You have mentioned that when you introduced me. We are also participating in the Interpol International Genetic Evaluation of Dairy Cattle, and has been since the inception of Interbeef, which has a similar objective for beef cattle, be part of that. And then I think very important, and it's not just us in South Africa, but also the ARC is compliant with the Certificate of Quality of the International Committee for Animal Recording. Also, I think in terms of software, you will see that we are bound by what the developments are elsewhere in the world in terms of software being used for genetic evaluations. And since the introduction of genomic prediction or genetic evaluations based on genomic information, we have to also had to step up a little bit in terms of the software to be used. Just quickly, how it works. Obviously, the recording will take a farm level. This can then, recording can be done through the cloud or even on paper and so forth. Data capturing, important to us is automated checks in terms of ownership. There's always legal obligations in terms of ownership of animals, for example, parentage and so forth, and compliance with these standards. Then also linkage to other secondary groups such as the DNA testing and milk recording and so forth. The centralized database, I think that's been mentioned. I think this has become so important. Obviously, access to that is important 24/7, and then dumping of data for genetic evaluation or routine genetic evaluations became so much important. And then web access is also important to us to allow users of the system to look up animals and to make breeding decisions through the web. Just as a brief, what we have achieved in South Africa currently, we do monthly or quarterly genetic evaluation for 20 beef cattle breeds. And we recently moved to a single-step GPLAB genomic evaluation for 4 of those breeds. And also the three dairy cattle breeds also are now on the genomic level. And then you can see for small stock, mainly wool sheep and meat producing sheep and goats, where either weekly, fortnightly, or monthly genetic evaluations are done, and then some for the companion animals as well. Obviously, this is the genomics part has opened up new possibilities. This is typically a PCA, where it is important for us to distinguish very clearly whether local breeds, the Sanger breeds, position themselves in accordance with the global breeds. And you will see that there's also a focus on the Sanger breeds. At this stage, we have just over 12,000 animals that's been genomically tested, and we started off with the beef genomics program in South Africa, which was partly mainly government funded, and then that assisted us to establish, and a dairy one as well, that established this for us to enable us to use this. I'm just going to dwell quickly over this. Then I think other services, which is important, and I think it all ends up where decisions can be made, and it's important that accessibility to the end user of how to use the genetic information is become more and more important. This is just 2 examples of web-based decision making applications that's available, and also that the reporting back to the regional owner is important, or then institutions that run this, such as breeding societies, and also even on the phenotypic side, not just the genetic side, to make management decisions at farm level. To us, that's a very important aspect of service rendering. Something that's very important, I think, especially in small populations and where you have to protect the existence of breeds, would be the population reports. That's also part, I think it should be part and parcel of this whole exercise that we're currently busy with as a group, and see to it that the African breeds are not just preserved, but have a commercial leg to stand on. That's my part. I try to be as quick and as brief as possible, but I'd like to remind you as such to a publication way back in '96, where Ed Reggie and myself was co-authors, and maybe this is the dream that can come true. Is a multi-country genetic evaluation for Africa feasible? And that was the proceedings of the 2nd All Africa Conference that was held in South Africa in '96. In Pretoria. So I thought I must remind Ed of that, and I think we are basically on the brink of these type of things now with the launch of this very nice event. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yapi, and thanks for reminding me. I didn't realize I was that old. That's long ago.
It was that long ago, yeah.
But I'm actually looking forward to the possibility of operationalizing those early thoughts that we had, those animated conversations around the possibilities so many years ago. Hopefully we can translate them into reality. So thank you so much, Yapi. I also wish to thank you so much for being so concrete with regard to areas that you see as possible entry points for collaboration as AABNet gets rolled out across the continent, and taking advantage and learning from some of the infrastructure and as well as specific approaches that South Africa and other countries for that matter have tried. So thanks so much, Yapi, for being that concrete, much appreciated. So moving on, I just want to explain that some of our guests down in the list are saying they're really short on time. So if I push a little bit now, please bear with me so that we stay on time and have the actual last speeches also made on time. That is not to belittle those who are yet to speak. In fact, we appreciate you so much and we are so glad you are here. Which now brings me to the introduction of Dr. Elena Rice, Chief Scientific Officer, Genus PLC. Please come on and make your 5-minute keynote remarks at this point.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to participate in the African Animal Breeding Network launch event. It is a great pleasure and honor to be here today. I want to share a little bit about Genus. Genus is a world-leading animal genetics company that has been focused on advanced breeding for almost 100 years and have supported over 50,000 farmers around the globe through our bovine business ABS and porcine business PIC. Our vision, pioneering animal genetic improvement to help nourish the world, and sustainability is at our core. We help our customers to breed healthier, more productive animals so that they can produce better meat and milk more efficiently and sustainably. So ABS, our bovine business, actually celebrating its 80th anniversary this year. So during those many years, ABS really excelled at providing products and services around the globe. Working closely with Genus R&D, ABS is making our own elite genetics for specific markets, provides sexed semen using our proprietary intelligent platform, and produces embryos to accelerate genetic progress. And all this is supported by a strong R&D foundation where we focus on genomic science, reproductive biology, biosystems engineering, and gene editing. We believe that Africa can offer opportunities for partnership that drive the business and supports sustainable livestock development and long-term opportunity to fulfill also our values. The productivity gap, as we just heard from quite several speakers before me, the productivity gap and huge role genetics can play in solving this for the benefit of African families and farmers is really the reason why we're excited about today's event. We see the African Animal Breeding Network as a great platform for us to engage with animal breeders to create many exciting opportunities. Long-term opportunity to nourish a continent with increased efficiency in protein production. Our increased R&D capability with genetic optimization in the sub-Saharan environment, combined with world-class service provision and data utilization to create pregnancies, can create unprecedented genetic improvement. ABS expertise in bovine genetics can support the growth of environmentally sustainable bovine protein by creating equivalent yield from fewer animals. We see significant value in engaging with local partners across Africa to create growth and share value, to make improved bovine genetics more widely accessible. And we want to build on already established networks and infrastructures to aid in local job opportunities as well as education. So thank you again for inviting me to speak very briefly today. We at Genus see this as a great opportunity. We are committed to help. And with that, I hope I saved a few minutes on our agenda. Thank you all very much.
Thanks so much, Elena, for being so precise and staying within the time and saving us a couple of minutes. Thank you. I hope that's going to be the trend. Others will save me time as well. But I really, thanks very much also for tilting your presentation to help us think about opportunities and not being so generic. So that's really appreciated, and we will pursue those opportunities. Fortunately, we have people within the network who also understand Genus. So there are opportunities for us to engage as we go forward. Thanks so much again, Elena, appreciate it. Okay, and with that, I would like now to shift to Mr. Richard Keeley, Group Managing Director, Africa Poultry Development Limited. Richard, please. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Professor Ege, and thank you, Dr. Victor Ilari for inviting me to join you today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really at the commercial end of the poultry industry, specifically Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, and Zambia, where we have operations. And today, really, I'd like to just share with you the success in the last 15 years of the poultry sector, specifically in those countries, as I said, where we have our experience and our businesses. But if I first start really with what does the farmer, the small scale farmer, really look for in terms of genetic performance for his products? And if we start the question, or when it's ever asked to our farmers across the countries, is livability. That's the most important factor to them. Obviously, when you're placing between 200 to 500 day-old chicks, and it's a significant amount of money for a small-scale farmer, he has to ensure that when he goes to market, he has as many of those birds alive. So livability is his primary focus, obviously followed very closely by productivity in terms of FCR and eggs per hen housed if he's a layer farmer. But why has poultry been so successful in the livestock sector in the last 15 years? I think if we look at it in terms of cash flow, it's a constant cash flow. There's a cash churn, if you like, in terms of the number of cycles that can come within a year, as opposed to other livestock sectors and even cropping. It's relatively lower risk compared to other livestock sectors because it's a lower entry point in terms of working capital. And also, obviously, it can be carried out on a small area of land. So as I said, there's been a significant growth in the last 15 years, and obviously the driving force behind that has been the increased urbanization of the rural populations. So the demand from those urban populations for a relatively cheap form of protein. So that has driven particularly the egg industry and the broiler industry. As an example, I would say in the last 15 years, privately in Zambia, there's been about a $300 million investment in the poultry sector by the private companies and individuals as well. So a significant investment, really, if you look at the actual size of the industry and the per capita consumption, which I think in Zambia at the moment stands at about 8 kilos per head per annum, which is opposed to somewhere like South Africa, which I think is now over or near enough 40 kgs per head. So a growing industry here. What has been a significant success is obviously the improved genetics that we've seen over the last 15 years, but also with the development of the sector, the greater availability of product, which is also key, and the ability of these private entities to get product to the far reaches areas in the rural communities and parts of the country. But also coupled with that, the relationship between certainly ourselves, who are grandparents, downwards. So we're what you would call a vertically integrated poultry company. We get a lot of training and development of both our staff and visits and input from our genetic suppliers. So that has certainly lifted the sector in the training and development. And also we have strong technical teams in the field who go out to farm visits, and they conduct seminars in various regions. So education levels of management has also contributed significantly to the growth. Fundamentally, though, in the poultry sector, unless you have a good feed, you're never going to succeed. And in our regions now, feed quality and consistency has dramatically improved, and that has obviously benefited for the small scale soybean farmers and maize farmers, because there's now a good outlet for their crops. Health Hatchery vaccinations have certainly made a huge difference, where we're doing a lot of in-hatchery vaccinations and taking that away from poor cold chains, etc. Disease control, better biosecurity. These are all the successes. And I also think the recent breeds, we've seen the introduction of sort of what we would call the European free-range coloured breeds. Their hardiness has been very successful, again, in the rural communities, particularly in Kenya, Tanzania, and also Ethiopia, where those breeds have performed well, as I said, that can survive on probably a less rich diet than your typical white broiler bird, and also their hardiness and livability is a lot better. What are the challenges to our sector? The significant challenge is really the dumping of imported cheap proteins from Europe and South America and the USA. Good examples of this are obviously what has happened in South Africa in the last 10 years. Ghana has also suffered, and even in Zambia, there's been significant import of mechanically deboned meat. Now, understandably, it's providing a cheap protein, but the problem is, for example, in Zambia, until recently, we were having to pay duties on breeding stock, whereas MDM was coming in duty-free. So that relates to the whole sector of the political lack of understanding of the livestock sector and the will to improve it. So we see that as a huge challenge going forward. There's also, in terms of government, we need more control in terms of welfare of the livestock, animal welfare programs, the food standards, food safety standards. All of these factors that fall under the government legislation needs to be improved. So looking at the future, I think the livestock sector in Africa would benefit from a far better consistent livestock policy across the African Union, and consistent in terms of ensuring that cheap products aren't dumped in our markets, that create huge volatility, detract from investment, and what we say is they're effectively exporting jobs. The growth of the poultry industry in Zambia and Kenya and Tanzania has created significant employment opportunities. So whilst we understand that it's important to keep people fed and have cheaper proteins available, the long term is, as we've talked about, is food security for the continent. And that's where I think we need a much better and a consistent government livestock policy across the continent. So yes, more genetic improvement, genetic consistent and married to the environments that they're in. I mean, in certain parts of Tanzania, we use what we call a naked neck, which is more heat resistant. As I talked about earlier, the coloured breeds that are better in the rural sector. So genetics needs to be married to the environment and the challenges in the various different sectors and communities. And also better collaboration with the vaccine and health suppliers, where we can specifically type variants of Gumboro and other diseases and treat them accordingly with the right vaccines, which has certainly improved in Zambia and Kenya and places, but I think that needs to be rolled out further, particularly areas like the DRC, etc. So really, that's all I have to say. I hope I've helped. I'm not obviously the highbrow colleagues here who are all professors, but I hope from my practical side, from the commercial sector, I can continue to contribute to this very excellent animal breeding network. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Richard. Appreciated. Yes, we appreciate your practical approach. You are touching, in fact, the very issues that really matter for AABNet. Even though you are hearing a lot of professors mentioned here and there, we as AABNet members would like to see a thriving, well-connected, practical, operational network that is guided by putting things on the ground as opposed to theory. So your speech, your statements about what you have observed on the ground in the region here, and the fact that you are more practical, commercial, and so on, really speaks to what we would like to see. We don't want to continue the theory that we've been having in the region, talking so much about breeding values and heritabilities. We would like to see milk, meat, eggs, and so on and so forth. So thank you so much, really much appreciated. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be shifting gears at this point. And as I said earlier, two of our guests are going to be making, when we go towards the end of the actual launch, we will be inviting our speakers to, we have two speakers at that point, Dr. Bebe and Her Excellency, the Minister, as we introduced earlier, Dr. Gerardine Mukeshimana. We will be coming to that momentarily, but for the next 23 and a half minutes, I'm inviting a panel to just very, very briefly delve into and zoom into the kind of pillars that really make the AABNet value proposition and mission. And I would like to now invite Raphael Rode to please walk to the front and sit near the podium. Sami Agre, please walk to the podium. Okay, Omwai, please walk to the podium. Victor, Evelyn, please, can you, all the five of you, walk to the podium so that we can see you as we ask you the following quick but pointed questions to help everybody understand exactly what is this AABNet all about. At the end of this session, we will then shift to the actual launch speeches, two of them in a row, with the final one being the one by the minister. So I would like to start by asking a question to Evelyn. Evelyn, I'm sure everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people on this call are wondering, this AABNet, who are members? Who are the members of this thing? What is it all about? So that's a question that I think we may not answer comprehensively, but I would like you to say a few things about the kind of categories of members and how we will be inviting members to join, and just take 1 minute and explain that, please.
Thank you very much.
As you do, please introduce yourself, who you are, where you work, your connection to the continent.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. My name is Evelyn Biaka-Wimu. I'm a research scientist with Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, but I firstly was an assistant lecturer at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and I am from Cameroon, okay? Now, we are today to launch the African Animal Breeding Network, and I would like to welcome everyone today, and I'm so excited to see so many people connected. Now, everybody would like to know about how to become a part of this network. I know we are all gathered here because we all have an interest, one way or the other, about improving livestock productivity in Africa. So membership to this organization, because it's an organization that will be composed of people or bodies. Without you and I or organization, it wouldn't be anything. So firstly, there are two categories of membership: individual membership and institutional membership. So I will first of all like to talk about the individual membership and to tell you why, firstly, why you would like to be a member of AABNet. An individual who wishes to be a member of AABNet. First of all, AABNet, being a member, will allow you to participate in the activities of AABNet, and those activities, as were already introduced to us initially, taking part in those programs that will drive livestock development in Africa, taking part in projects, taking part in writing, in being invited to produce content on African livestock. Like there's already one book project that's already going on now by potential members that are connected here. So first we have full membership, and full membership means it is open to everyone that I can say has the qualification to call yourself an animal breeder. That is, you have the experience to drive livestock animal genetic improvement. That is, you have solid experience, you're leading projects, you're leading teams, you're doing actual, you have the knowledge. Just like if you want to be the member of the Animal Science Society of Nigeria, a full member is somebody that, like a professor, that kind of thing. But here, those that have that practical solid experience, they will be full members. So we also have the fellows, that those that are learning, that aspire to be animal breeders, but they are still coming up, like postdocs, like research associates. Those they are welcome as members. We have the student members. Those are they are in school. They wish to become animal breeders in future. So they will come on as members, because we have a lot of programs to train these people through this organization.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. Thank you so much.
Institutional members.
The topic of membership and the categories and how to join and so on is going to be a very relevant one, an upfront topic that we would like to actually make sure that everybody gets that information, and it will be on the website. And Evelyn will be building more information into that will then become available for everybody. So thanks, Evelyn.
Yes.
I'd like to shift back all the way to Raphael to talk about, and then I'm going to be coming back to you, Victor, so stand by. Raphael, one pillar that I know is very close to your heart is the pillar that is thinking about how to address the whole issue of genetic evaluations that takes into account the possibility of evaluations across countries, as opposed to working with individual countries. What is the issue there? Can you please frame the issue very, very briefly? What is the issue, and specifically the issue around that, but for Africa and in Africa? What is the issue?
Thank you very much. My name is Raphael Mrode. I work at SRC in the Edinburgh, Scotland, and same time at ERI as well. And originally I'm from Nigeria. So the issue of a multi-country genetic evaluation is actually very, very important, because genetic improvement is critical, as we have heard, to improve productivity and also to improve efficiency given climate change and the dwindling natural resources. So it is very important that we have sustainable genetic improvement program. But sitting right in the middle of any genetic improvement program is an efficient genetic evaluation system. That is a system that will deliver the superior animals that is relevant to the smallholder farmers in future for their productivity, for their profitability, and so on and so forth. It is the choice of individuals as parents of the next generation. And that is what genetic evaluation enables us to do. So why then is it very critical in terms of Africa? One, given that we have this across usage of several breeds across countries. So we have these transboundary breeds. We have limited data structures. We have heard data is very limited within countries. And especially when you talk about the dairy sector, we have imported many foreign bulls which are used across the countries. Therefore, a genetic evaluation that look at it from a multi-country point of view is very important, both to explore that connectedness and also to increase the accuracy of prediction, and then make available genetically superior animals that can be used across the whole region.
What is the challenge you see, Raphael? What challenge do you see? I think the aspiration is fantastic, and you are speaking to things that we really want to have in place. As we stand here right now, what challenges do you see in operationalizing that fantastic dream that we all cherish?
Okay, the challenges are one, limited data structure, as we have heard Not many countries have a formal system of collecting data. So AABA will actually be a platform that will define common standards for data collection, define traits. That is one of the challenges. Another challenge, as we have seen from Dr. Yapi's presentation, a lot of human resources, technical know-how is needed. And usually within country, we cannot provide all the resources. So AABA will provide a common center, a platform, a repository of software, human capacity information that will actually drive systematic and consistent genetic evaluation, focusing on key productive and resilience traits.
Thank you so much. I would like to link that directly with a question to Sami. Speaking of the whole issue of capacity to do things we haven't done on the continent before. And in some cases, the reason we haven't done it was because of capacity. And we don't have capacity because there are no capacity to develop the capacity. So we are chicken and egg here. So Sami, what is the capacity challenge that we are talking about in operationalizing this dream that AABNet is holding dear?
Well, my name is Sami Agre. I'm a geneticist professor at the University of Georgia. I'm a Ghanaian. Capacity is the key to everything. I'll give you an example. In the US, poultry production has developed quite a bit, and it was found that genetics contributed to about 80% of the whole poultry performance. If we port this to Africa and we are able to develop capacity to do everything that Dr. Morodi has talked about, it would elevate productivity and performance. You cannot really build a house without having the know-how on how to build a house. And our capacity on the continent is very low, and I'm glad that AABA is in now to provide a leadership in innovative education and also provide the technology hub to really connect the classroom education to technology, to industry, to the farmers, to make the whole thing work, because it cannot just be an academic education. It has to be linked all the way to the animal itself and to the farmer to make it work.
Thank you so much, Sami, and for being so brief. I would like to ask this question around the visibility and enabling environment for animal genetics, animal breeding, and leading to investments, both public and private, into this. And one of the pillars of AABNet is the whole issue of advocacy and awareness, business development, and so on. So I would like to ask Okeyo to tell us what specifically do you see as low-hanging fruits here? I mean, it is not like our governments don't know that livestock is important or don't know that breeding is an important component of livestock improvement. It is not that they don't know. So what do we need to do so that they confirm they know and commit to doing something about it? What is needed here? Okay. I can see, okay, we can't see your face, so I'm not sure you can hear me.
You're muted.
Yes, my name is Okeyo. I work at the International Livestock Research Institute as a principal scientist, and I also lead a program that is very close to my heart, the African Dairy Genetic Gain, which is directly linked to what we are launching today. And before I answer that, I would like to say one thing. Those who don't have large enough dreams and work hard enough to realize them have no space in progressive history. I'm glad to note that you are part of the progressive history today, all of you who are logged in today. Now, to answer that question, for many years, African governments, development partners feel that genetics takes too long to realize any gains. The truth is that that is incorrect. So what are the low-hanging fruits? The low-hanging fruits are exactly what Raphael talked about. How can we, using the current tools, and the time is right now because we have digital tools which can enable us to collect data, because the excuse was it takes long to collect adequate data. Now we have tools of trade that can enable us to collect data, pull this data across the countries, and demonstrate that in so short a time, we can actually have genetic gains. We can select the best bulls that fit different environments, select the best sheep, the best goats, and so on. So in my view is pooling the resources we have now, using the tools that we have currently, that is ICT and genomics, and we begin flying.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much, okay. Thank you, much appreciated. I wanted to link this, and I want to mentally prepare Mizek Chagunda to come back to this after after Victor. Mizek, I will be asking you a question related to how we can leverage our diaspora content, and particularly the fact that a lot of members potentially could be in fact African out there. What are the possibilities that we can leverage to build an AABNet that is strong and sustainable? While you are thinking about that, I want to come to Victor and ask Victor the following. All these things which have been mentioned by Raphael, by Sami, by Okeo, require that we work with others. In your view, Victor, and as someone who knows Africa, but also has lived outside for a while, and knows the private sector, but also works with public sector, who are these people? Who should we work with to make this dream happen? In Africa, outside of Africa, public sector, private sector, and even civil society. Who should we be working with?
Thank you very much, Ed. My name is Victor Olori. I'm from Nigeria originally, but currently I work for Aviagen, one of the world's biggest poultry breeding company, based in Edinburgh. I am based in Edinburgh, but Aviagen is a global company. I work as a senior geneticist, and I have the role of being responsible for the genetic evaluation of all the breeds. So I usually joke with friends that if you are eating any white chicken anywhere in Africa or anywhere, it's probably gone through my lab. So I'm glad to be here. As you have heard everyone else say, the business of livestock genetic improvement is not a one-man business. It cannot be. We've heard about issues like genetic evaluation, which is one aspect, data collection, which requires animal identification. That is the one key part that is lacking in Africa, that's making everything else go behind. So the people we need to work with, first of all, how do we ensure that we can have a traceability system, animal identification? You know, I know a company called Allflex, for example, that just all they do, their business is, you know, producing animal tags. So we need to collaborate with different companies. ICA is the word that YAPI works with. We heard earlier on today. ICA means International Center for Animal Recording. ICA is an international publicly funded organization that is responsible for standardizing recording across the Western world, where if you are recording milk production in Denmark and you are recording milk production in Switzerland or in America, it is standardized, which is the reason why another institution like Interbull can conduct international genetic evaluations so that a person sitting in Kenya can rank a bull in Canada versus another bull in Australia and decide which one to buy. So we need to collaborate with agencies like that. But we don't want to reinvent the wheel. There are many breeding companies, for example, that are already producing excellent, high genetically improved animals. If these animals can be used in Africa, as poultry have shown, then we should be able to utilize them. So how do we ensure that the facilities on ground are allowing African farmers to tap into and use these highly improved animals that are already being produced and can be sold to Africa? Technology can be transferred. So if we get highly improved animal breeds like dairy breeds or poultry breeds, we have to be able to facilitate the farmers to use them. So the stakeholders, the poultry breeders, or I mean, the breeding companies themselves, the resource providers, laboratories. If we want to genotype an animal, you need to be able to have a lab where you take the blood sample, analyze it, and get the genotype. So all of those are, very important. ICT, these ones can be local. We have a very good ICT hub in Kenya, for example. There are very many ICT hubs in Africa. We have to focus them on developing, even farm software, livestock, software required for livestock improvement. So there is ICT technology use, companies that already exist that we have to leverage with.
Thank you so much, Victor. Very, very clear. And finally, I would like to invite our brother Mizek. Mizek, who also happens to be based in Europe, but let him introduce himself. And particularly the question is, how, based on our collective experience as members of AABNet or those who might want to be, what do you see as possible leverage possibilities and options for really engaging the diaspora to really make the game go to the next level? The diaspora, particularly those who have their feet in and outside of Africa at the same time. How can we do this? What can we do?
Thank you very much, Ed. My name is Mizek Chakunda. I'm from Malawi, Southern Africa. Currently, I'm a professor and director of the Institute of Tropical Agriculture at the University of Hohenheim in Stuttgart in Germany. Now, to go to your question, Ed, as an African, one of the things that I believe is to learn from our ancestors. One of the things that our ancestors say is that in Africa, at least, if you want to go very fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. That's an African proverb. It makes a lot of sense. If we really want to make a lot of genetic progress, we need to work together. One of the things that has made us not really make the genetic progress we need with our livestock is that everybody tries to go alone. We try to go fast, but we don't really go far. The diaspora, one of the things in animal genetics that my professors would be very happy to hear is the first lesson they taught us is the issue of variation. We cannot make genetic progress without variation. The same thing with people in diaspora who are based in different countries, people who are based on the continent. That variation, we can actually use it together. The variation in knowledge, the variation in skills that we've all acquired in different areas can be very ably used to help animal genetic improvement in Africa.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mizek. Thank you so much, the entire panel. I wish we had doubled the time because I wanted to have follow-up questions with you, but unfortunately we don't. And I think this is our launch, and we must confirm to the world that we care about time. We care about time just as we care about our time. And therefore we want to be able to finish on time. And I would like at this point to just let you know that we are moving towards the actual launch. We have 2 speeches, and then there will be, at the end, there will be a quick summary of the highlights, key messages by Apollonia, who is also a member of AABNet. But at this time, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to invite someone I have worked with not very long ago, and someone who is very well known in the agriculture space, agriculture development space, Dr. Haile Gabriel Abebe, ADG, and regional representative for Africa of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO. Dr. Abebe, please feel most welcome and join your brothers and sisters.
Thank you, Ed. Honorable Dr. Gerardine Mukeshimana, Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources of the Republic of Rwanda, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by reminding all of us that we commemorate the World Milk Day today for the 20th time since its introduction by FAO in 2001. The theme for this year focuses on sustainability in the dairy sector. So I would like to wish you all a happy World Milk Day. I wish to congratulate the organizers of this meeting for the launch of the African Animal Breeders Network, AABNet, and for associating FAO to this important event. It's an honor for me on behalf of FAO to address this August meeting, bringing together the world leading scientists and scholars on the African continent and its friends from elsewhere, dedicated to improving the performance of the livestock sector through innovative transformation. I will not belabor much enumerating why and how the animal agriculture is key to socio-economic development in Africa, for it is evident. The establishment of the African Animal Breeders Network and its launch today comes at a crucial moment. FAO just concluded a study on impacts of COVID-19 and other shocks on food and agriculture. One of the findings was that the livestock sector in general and the pastoralists and female micro-entrepreneurs were among the hardest hit through constrained access to inputs such as vet services, medicines, and animal feed and markets, among others. Another recent joint FAO, African Union Commission, Economic Commission for Africa, ECA report on the state of food security and nutrition indicates that nearly 3/4 of Africans cannot afford a healthy diet. Over half of all Africans, about 51%, cannot afford a nutrient adequate diet. And of the 185.5 million people globally who cannot afford an energy sufficient diet, 80% live in Africa. While Africa has 24% of the world's cattle population, it merely produces 5% and 6% of the global milk and meat production, respectively. And the 8% of the world's chicken found in Africa could produce only 4% of the eggs. Clearly, the issue of productivity is central. Several African countries meet their meat and milk demands through imports, worth tens of billions of US dollars annually, a staggering figure that keeps growing. This need not happen. Opportunities and possibilities exist for transformation of the animal agriculture and food system. On the demand side, the fact that each year Africa foots a food import bill worth tens of billions of dollars is a good indicator of the size of Africa's food markets. Let's note that this is not covered through borrowing. It's paid for in cash. With the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement entering into force, the African food markets are expected to grow. On the supply side, there are opportunities for improved performance through innovation and application of technologies to fix the low productivity levels, as well as the broken value chains, towards a more competitive, more resilient, viable, and rewarding enterprise benefiting those involved in it. However, realizing these opportunities require investment. Data on public expenditure on agricultural research and development and extension have not only been low in Africa, but also declining over time. This is because of limited fiscal space in the face of competing priorities. However, a general policy neglect of the agriculture sector, and particularly the animal resources subsector, have been pervasive. For example, as percent of GDP, public investment in agriculture fell from 0.64% in 2001 to 0.15% in 2018 Africa-wide. This needs to change, and it requires concerted actions by all stakeholders. But financing investment for transformational change cannot be driven by the public sector alone. Private investment is key, including the millions of smallholder farmers. I would like to propose some imperatives in this regard for consideration by the Africa Animal Breeders Network. 1, contribute to getting the incentives, particularly incentive for investment rights, in terms of providing the evidences to make a compelling case that investment in improved breeding and genetic improvement provides the highest returns. Also supporting evidence-based prioritization of expenditures and policy decisions. 2, contribute to having a correct narrative on why the topic is important and relevant for Africa, also highlighting its unique features, such as diversity and adaptive capacity of local genetics resources. 3, bridging the missing middle to address the huge disparities between globally available solutions, including technological solutions, and local level capacities and practices, and the roles of strong institutions and professional networks, such as the AABNet, will be key. 4, facilitating effective management of engagement of partnerships and stakeholders in the system, including platforms for knowledge, data, and experience sharing. Among the Sustainable Development Goals indicators for which FAO has been designated a custodian, there are 2 indicators related to animal genetics. These are conservation of animal genetic resources and risk status of livestock breeds. Monitoring results of these 2 important indicators globally show that a lot remains to be done to make progress. To date, sufficient genetic materials to allow reconstitution was stored in gene banks for only 2.6% of the 7,700 breeds reported globally. The progress made in this regard is negligible, and the situation is not any better for Africa, where the corresponding figure stands just at 2%. The global proportion for the storage of some genetic materials of local breeds up to the year 2021 stands at 8.8%. In Africa, it's just 2.8%. The monitoring data shows also that the little animal genetic conservation done in Africa involves only 6 out of the 54 countries on the continent. For the indicator on risk status of livestock breeds, there is no sufficient data. However, available information indicates that among the local breeds assessed in Southern Africa, 77% are at risk of extinction unless measures are taken in time. FAO addresses issues related to animal genetic resources and their management through a dedicated commission on genetic resources for food and agriculture. The commission, through its intergovernmental working group, reviews work plan implementation, mainly the management of animal genetic resources. Coincidentally, the working group had its regular meeting only a few weeks ago and discussed items quite relevant to the AAB network we're launching today. This included the status of implementation of the Global Plan of Action for Animal Genetic Resources, which is a framework for the management of the world's livestock biodiversity by facilitating engagement of countries, regional focal points and networks, monitoring the implementation of strategic priority areas, and tracking progress through reports and assessment impact. The draft technical guidelines on innovations in cryoconservation of animal genetic resources, the draft technical guidelines on genomic characterization of animal genetic resources, the Domestic Animal Diversity Information System, DAD-IS for short, development and activities undertaken to fill the data gaps, and innovation opportunities, challenges and implication of digital sequence information on genetic resources for food and agriculture, among others. In conclusion, FAO is committed to support transformation to more efficient, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable agri-food systems for better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better life, leaving no one behind. And therefore very much welcome this initiative to establish and launch the African Animal Breeders Network that aims to work with all stakeholders to contribute to sustainable livestock systems in support of small-scale African livestock producers through support to livestock genetic improvement. I thank you for your attention. Over to you, Eddie.
Thank you. Thank you so much. As usual, very, very concrete, very articulate. Thanks also for the figures, which of course we can use to make the case, as we do need to make the case. Coming from investment in agriculture to livestock, to the specificities of livestock and the role that FAO is playing in the space of animal genetic resources. Very much appreciated. And I can promise you, we will be knocking your doors as we roll out this and try to build it. Thank you so much for always being available to support these kinds of initiatives. Thank you. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to shift our attention to the actual pronouncement of the launch. And to do this and more, we have invited a friend of science, a friend of livestock, a friend of the lab, and a friend of what science the lab and everything around that can do to improve agriculture. Dr. Gerardine Mukeshimana, Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources, Republic of Rwanda. Welcome, welcome, and welcome.
Thank you so much, moderator. Dear members of the Africa Animal Breeding Network, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and good afternoons, depending on where you are. Let me start by thanking the organizers for convening this launch of African Animal Breeding Networks, despite COVID-19 pandemic effects and difficulties. I also want to congratulate the founding members who conceived this great idea of establishing AABNet, which will be a key to enhancing professional development, collaboration, networking, and partnerships among African researchers, academia, farmers, livestock development, and advisory service experts. The network is also in a good position to make advocacy, awareness, and business development cases across the African livestock value chains. As the Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources of Rwanda, through our implementing agency, the Rwanda Agriculture and Animal Resource Development Board, we are excited and we are interested in partnering with you to benefit your expertise and network. The Rwanda Vision 2050 demands agriculture to be market-oriented, climate resilient, and scaled up by using inputs and technologies to maximize the productivity. For livestock, it is planned in our National Agriculture Investment Plan and our Livestock Master Plan that interventions have to focus, among others, on the development of the livestock registry, support community in animal breeding practices, enhance existing animal genetic improvement programs, and the conservation of local breeds diversity to guarantee sustainable access and availability of high quality livestock genetics to be able to unlock farmers and private sector investments. In collaboration with various partners, we have already progressed on key elements to contribute to availability of high quality cattle genetics. These elements include the development of a national livestock database hosted in Rwanda that is already there and ready for implementation. We are hoping that that we will be able to register cattle in Rwanda now on until the end of this year. The development of a dairy profit index also is being developed to guide the selection and acquisition of appropriate dairy cattle genetics. And to this, around 2,000 cows have been genotypes, and milk production parameters are being recorded. That said, as Africans, we still have a lot of gaps and the challenges to have adapted and high-producing African livestock breeds to meet our growing demand of animal products for local and exports. These African animal breeding networks can be harnessed to create a synergy among different stakeholders in the domain to find solutions to gaps and challenges that we are facing. I have noticed that AABNet is composed of distinguished professors and scientists working in excellent universities and institutions across the globe. I hope your expertise can be used to benefit African livestock farmers and African livestock industry at large. We hope to see practical solutions on the ground that are changing lives in Africa. And with that, I once again want to thank you so much for inviting me. And I want to officially launch the establishment of the African Animal Breeding Network as a continental organization to support livestock genetic improvement in Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Her Excellency, for your speech and for being able to come and officially launch this, our AABNet. And I can assure you that we will remember this day for times to come. As you've heard, this is something we've been talking about for many years, many decades, I dare say. So thanks so much for personally being available and making the launch speech. We really do appreciate. Please stay on, everyone, stay on. I'm inviting our colleague, Professor Apollonaire Jiken, to make some final comments as we close. Apollonaire, over to you.
Thank you, Ed. Distinguished guests, my greetings, all protocol considered. Today is June 1st, and it's indeed the World Milk Day. We set this event to happen today so that we could reflect deeply on the quote for today, which is sustainability practices in the dairy sector. I think throughout the conversation today, we believe that it has to be a sustainable sector. It also has to be productive, and more so in low and middle income countries. So if we look back 60, 80 years ago, we can see that the role and impact of animal breeding is very visible. And you can see that in production systems in advanced economies, North America, Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. The key question, which is a real challenge that we are trying to address today, is how do we bring that to bear in terms of livestock productivity or sustainable productivity in Africa? I think given the examples and the promises that we've heard today, we can deliver on that, but it's not going to happen today. So I therefore invite you, for everyone and those who couldn't make it to this event, that this is just the start of a long-term journey. We need your commitment. And I thank all the speakers, from Jimmy Smith, the Director General of ILRI, all the way to Honorable Minister, on the support and the promises that you have made on us to work together. We've heard of some specific examples. How can we move the needle for poultry production? Victor has mentioned 80% of productivity of all the gains that we've realized comes from genetics, and animal breeding plays a central role there. We've also heard that the productivity gap in terms of milk can be nudged tenfold, and that's also the role that animal breeding can play. So from our own speakers, you know, the core team of AABNet, which I want to thank most sincerely, we've heard about how we can bring some of the technical competencies to deliver on the agenda that we have in front of us. We've talked about the role of data, how to manage genetic resources, how to link evidence to policies. I think those are some of the things that this network is setting up to do. And from our guest speakers, I think we can see this effectively as ABBA becoming a real platform, bringing the public sector, international research organizations, the private sector, and government to commonly deliver on a common goal. And we have reference points when it comes to productivity and sustainability, and also welfare in sub-Saharan Africa. I think that's the agenda we would like to deliver on. In closing, I know we have gone over time. This whole event would not have happened without the leaders of AABNet, those who have supported, you know, conversation that did not just start 2 years ago, start a long time. But we have made this journey through people and their organizations. I cannot thank them all individually. We're all represented here from within Africa and from across the globe. Please, my sincere thanks to you. And once again, this is just the start of a long journey that we're embarking on together. And it would be remiss of me to finish without mentioning anything about my own organization. I'm from Cameroon. I'm based in Scotland. I'm a professor at the University of Edinburgh and also director of the Center for Tropical Livestock Genetics and Health, which is really about ensuring that innovations, all the innovations that we've talked about can be utilized to drive genetic improvement. In fact, the whole livestock sector in Africa and at the low and middle income countries. And I want to thank the founding organizations of our center, the University of Edinburgh, Roslin, SRUC, and the International Livestock Research Institute. I also want to thank the funders. You know, we started this journey in part owing to funding from the UK government, UK Research and Innovation, the Global Challenge Research Fund, in terms of building capacity. And I want to close here by making a pledge from my own, from my personal perspective, that ABBA is a long-term journey. Realizing genetic gains is a journey that many have worked and some are just embarking on now. And we count on you as all the attendees from this meeting to work with us, and try to bring innovations for livestock genetic improvement in Africa. Let me close here, and I thank everybody. And once again, we'll come back to you as we move forward. Finally, many have posed some of the questions that we didn't have the time to cover. We will make sure that we bring those questions. One of the questions, just to highlight, was what are the incentives for the producers to participate in this? And I think Okeyo and many of my colleagues, they do have perfect solutions for those. And they've also talked about how can we make sure that some of these tools are available across Africa. That's the raison d'etre of having this network, so that we can be connected north, south, east, west, central in Africa to ensure that these capabilities are available to everybody. And one of the farmers, a good friend, Maurice Agaba, talked about how do I access some of the improved genetics. I think these are some of the areas where we'll come back to you. And there are many other questions, and I think I take you that we will take some of these questions and post on the website. And please come back to the website. You will register to become a member. We want to be sending you more updates. We have launched the network. Now the work starts. And I think it's going to start as a joint effort with all of you. I yield back to you, Ed, and thank you most sincerely to my colleagues, and to those who have attended.
Thank you so much, Lionel, for that summary. You've actually picked the key highlights. I would like to repeat what you've just said. We have noted the richness of commentary that is coming into the chat. And please note, we are not ignoring them. It's just that the way we structured this launch did not include open discussions on emerging questions. You can be sure that when ABBA operationalizes as we are doing momentarily, we will actually create an opportunity to actually engage in discussing some of those difficult questions that you are asking, both about what this animal is about, as well as how you can engage and contribute. And so we will be having such a meeting as soon as we possibly can, probably initially virtually because of the current situation. But we see an appetite for conversation around the key issues that constrain animal breeding and genetics. And therefore, clearly there's need for that conversation. So thanks very much for being open with those chat comments. We are taking them seriously. Finally, thank you everybody who attended. I know that you are really eager to say something or even to introduce yourselves. We have seen your names, we have seen your photos, we have seen your profiles for those who shared them. We note that you are here. We appreciate you. We appreciate you so much. Don't think that we did not identify you and ask you to say a word. We really appreciate you. Finally, we have had attendance from all the continents. I've just been checking the list of attendance, just sampling the people I know. All the continents are actually represented, of course, not by the same measure, but all the continents are represented, and we really do appreciate. Thank you for making this launch what it has been, and we appreciate you, and we'll be working with you. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. And I think we can do this if we can't do more. Felix, we can at least do this. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
I was wondering if Felix can put up the website address.
Felix, can you put the website address on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, I did. Okay.
In the chat. It is already in the chat?
Maybe in the chat then. Okay.
Okay, it is already there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Felix. Why don't you give us some entertainment as we walk out?
Okay. So Ed, can you ask the few of us to wait behind and quickly agree on something?
Yeah, the core team stays behind.
The core team, please stay behind, please.
Oh my God.
Please, just for 5 minutes.
I'm going to disappoint you guys. I'm sorry. Somebody actually waiting at the door here.
So I just wanted us to agree on when to meet next week. Monday or Tuesday, same time.
God, I won't be able to tell because I have to check with someone else. Sorry.
Evelyn, can the time be moved to our normal time, like 1 hour later?
Yes, 9 o'clock for you and I.
Okay.
So is it Monday or Tuesday?
Sammy, you are covered.
I'm covered. Good.
You are covered. Evelyn is covering you very well.
I tell you.
Evelyn, Tuesday is not good for me.
Monday or Tuesday, please. I need you guys to speak now.
I have to send an email because I have to check. There were some schedules being done in another meeting right now, so I can't tell.
No, I think I speak with your
and everybody else.
If she told you, then that's okay, Evelyn. That should be okay. Yeah.
Could you accept my apologies for missing the first part, please?
Monday for me.
Mezek, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Don't worry about it.
Thank you very much, Ed, for making my day.
It's fine. I send you a chat, Mezek, so that's okay. So improvisation. I mean, that's the beauty of working as a team. So
thank you. But I'm really sorry for that.
No, don't worry about it. Something may have happened. We all know that. So don't worry about it.
Thank you.
Please, we are meeting on Monday. Okay, gentlemen, Monday by 9 o'clock my time.
Please note that all your guests are still on the call.
Oh.
Don't start.
Don't start talking in the kitchen.
Sorry.
Unless there's nyamachoma in the kitchen.
Is this the one that was scheduled for Friday?
Which species?
Yes.
So bye-bye, guys. I'm sorry, I have to run. Sorry.
It's all right. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you again.
We'll let you know.
Okay.
So are we still staying on without Ed?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah, we still have 50 people in the room, so we have to be. Don't start telling me how much money you owe me or I owe you.
Please, let's play some music for them.
Apollinaire, where's the champagne? You know,
Yeah.
we can't hang around with no champagne.
It's here, it's here.
No, that's no champagne.
It is, it is.
I deserve a cup of tea.
Cup of tea.
Victor, you are getting lost. Somebody should rescue Victor.
Avery, is the Monday meeting replacing the Friday?
Yes.
Yes, please, because Ed is not available on Friday.
All right. Okay.
Okay, that's the one I was asking also.
I just want us to agree now so that.
Okay. Can I send you guys to a breakout room so that it's easier for you to have the conversation as people leave?
Yeah, please do that.
Okay.
On Monday 7th, eh? Music is good.